U.S. economy is breaking records and stocks are surging. The new jobs report shows unemployment fell below 4% in April. I hear your applause from the sidelines. That was the best level since 2000. But wait, before you get too excited, job growth and wage growth were, in fact, lackluster. Now, investors didn't know quite what to make of it as the trading began. The Dow opened down more than 100 points, but at the close, as you just saw, the major markets were all firmly higher. And more to that, all the sectors were up. In Washington, President Trump couldn't resist taking a victory lap.
I thought the jobs report was very good. The big thing to me was cracking poor. That hasn't been done in a long time. You'll tell me how long. But it hasn't been done in a long time. We're full employment. We're doing great. The stock market is doing, I guess it's up 35% since the election. And now I think really they're waiting to see what's going to happen on trade, because we're going to have some incredible trade deals announced.
Now, let's get this straight. A trade deal with China hasn't happened yet. The American negotiators who traveled to Beijing to try and put an end to the ongoing trade dispute are on their way back to Washington. Let's be clear, without a trade deal yet. China says the two sides, though, did make some progress, but big differences remain. Andy Puzder was President Trump's first choice for Labor Secretary, but he withdrew his nomination. He previously served as CEO of CKE Restaurants, which owns Hardee's and Carl Jr.'s. Now, most recently, he has written the book, The Capitalist Comeback, The Trump Boom, and the Left's Plot to Stop It. Andy Puzder joins me now, right here in studio. Can't thank you enough. Really
Pleasure to be here, Paula. Thank you.
Okay, to start off, can't help but notice that you should be the one bragging about these numbers right now. If you're a Labor Secretary,
That
you
would
would
be
have.
nice, yeah.
Do you want to take a shot at it, everyone? Because I'll give back as good as you can give me, because the numbers are good, but we did not have this big tax cut. Really was supposed to lead to a little bit more business investment and, crucially, more on the wages. Wanted to see more on the wages.
Well, you did see more investment. And when the GDP numbers came out, we had good investment in the first quarter. The problem wasn't investment, it was consumer spending. So if we can continue with elevated business investment, and businesses, you know, if you find out there's a tax cut and you're going to have some money, let's say you're building a restaurant, you know, that was the industry I was in. Well, if you decide you want to expand because there's benefits to doing it, you get to write off your investment in the first year. First, you got to find a site, then you have to negotiate a deal, then you have to build the restaurant, and then it opens. So this is going to come in over time. But I think these initial numbers have been encouraging.
Okay, and so you're saying it's just a bit too early to tell.
Yeah, one thing that I particularly like that really I haven't seen anybody pay attention to, so maybe you and I can talk about it, was the number of people working part-time for economic reasons. In other words, they couldn't find a full-time job, so they had to work part-time, fell to its lowest level since October of 2007, which is pre-recession. So that's a good number.
But the number on the number of hours worked in a week was not very good. We were at 34.
Yes.
Wouldn't
but
you want to see that come up a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. But you are seeing people move from jobs they would have preferred not to have to jobs that pay them more. And the benefit of obviously that doesn't show up in the unemployment numbers because they're already considered employed.
Yep.
So there are some underlying factors in here that I think indicate economic strength.
And understood. We're getting picky. Who can complain? 3.9. I think some people.
It's got to be close to 4.
Okay, but some people even in the industry that you used to lead will say there was a mismatch, perhaps even in skills and jobs. So if you put that aside for one moment, I do want to get to this issue of trade. Look, no one expected they were going to come back from Beijing with a trade agreement now. You argue it's going to take a long time, but that's exactly the argument that people are making. The Trump administration wants to upend trade deals, and really the timelines are unrealistic. But more than that, you'll hear later in the show the EU Trade Commissioner taking a very hard line and threatening a trade war of their own if the Trump administration goes any further.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of threats right now, but I think the trade relationships are much too important to the economies on both sides. And given that we're the world's biggest customer, I tell you, in any business you're in, the one thing you don't want to do is offend your biggest customer. We are the world's biggest customer. People will take positions, as they did in China, as they did initially on NAFTA. But here we are, very close to a deal on NAFTA. So I think you'll see the sides move close. This is the way business, this is the way negotiations work. You come in yelling and screaming. You want to be way here, and you really only want to get to here, and maybe you'll settle for being here. So we're in a negotiating stance right now. I think whatever the negotiations are, the United States is going to end up better off because we're at such a disadvantage in many of these relationships.
And a lot of people give the administration credit for trying, as long as they don't spoil everything in the meantime. So I have you on the record. NAFTA's happening. That's one. Can I have you on the record? You won't be back here talking about a China trade.
I have no inside information on NAFTA, but I do believe it's going to happen. And I hope people will read the book about why we have this booming economy and what President Trump's done really to advocate and promote a booming economy.
And I do want to get to that for one moment, if I can.
Oh,
even
good.
if you look,
I thought we were almost done.
No. Even if you were to look, I want one further question, especially
Sure.
even if you look at the industry you used to run. Okay, if we go into a fast food restaurant now, it's all automated. At least they're trying to make it more automated. A lot of people argue trade is not the issue. That we will not be worried about this in 5, even 10 years. It's things like AI, artificial intelligence, automation on the factory floor, and that we need to be a smarter economy, not smart in trade negotiations, just smart overall.
I think we do need to be a smart economy. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I don't think the threat from automation is as devastating as people would make it out to be unless you try and price workers out of their jobs. Automation can be expensive, and automation can also create jobs. The tractor didn't mean we have, less farmers and less produce. We have more. So automation can advance the economy. It should advance the economy. I think we need to be, we did not. When I was running CK, we didn't put the order and kiosks in, and one of the reasons we didn't do it is I felt that was the wrong thing to do. I think that the relationship between your employees and the consumer is very important. We could have been forced to do that, and franchisees might have been forced to do that if the cost of labor was artificially driven up too high, but we never got to that. We never got to that point.
And I bet most companies will get to that point very soon, and
we'll see. But if the economy's driving wages up, that's different than the government driving them up.
Understood. The book is The Capitalist Comeback. Thanks so much for coming on. You're welcome back here anytime. Next time, perhaps we can talk about the staffing changes in the Trump administration.
Whatever you like.
Great.